Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm doing another live. Most of my lives are pretty much scheduled outside of my live Boss Babe business show, but today I'm going live because I want to have a conversation. Oops, is it not? Is the mic not even on? Oh, Lord. Oh, we're going to have to do this again. Hold on, y'all. Maybe I should restart. No, I'll keep it going. Okay, so the question that I asked people was if your job called you and they wanted you to come in and work for free. They say, "Yeah, we need your expertise, we need your guidance, we want your opinion." Um, what are you saying? What is your response? I'm just about to go through and read the responses that I received from some of my followers, subscribers, directory members, um, everybody that's in our community, readers. Let's pull it up. So we're going to start off with TikTok because that had me cracking up. I mean, all of them had me cracking up, but there's one specific post or response that I saw that just had me with tears in my eyes. And that is when I pulled up my TikTok page and I had a notification. You know how sometimes it won't say the full post that they're commenting on, it will just say the response. And the response was from Lady D's Treats. And she said, click. When I saw that, I bust out laughing. So let's go through these TikTok responses. Here's a question that I asked. I said, if your job called you and they said, hey, we need you to come in, we want to pick your brain, and we want to know what you think about the company, we want you to give us some ideas to grow, and you said, okay, sure, I'll be in. And as soon as you get there, your job then tells you, oh no, we don't want to, we're not trying to pay you. Or they tell you before you get there. And these are the responses I got. From Davita, I'm hanging up. Um, aka Miss V on TikTok, she said, I'm hanging up. And then she put some emojis. From the Cookie Lady, aka LadyD'sTreats.com, she said, click. From Sweet Addiction, she said, I would say this. Okay, well, then I'm off. So I'll have to bill you from my consultant side of the business. And then I would tell them my hourly rate that I would make up on the spot. She said we would either be doing this on the clock or off the clock. And what she means by that is either on the consultant clock or on your clock. But either way, she getting paid. She said, from what I've learned, the company that needs your knowledge, they will take your knowledge and then they will replace you. Then someone else said, so not exactly the same scenario, but I was passed over for a VP promotion. But then was asked to still attend the executive meetings, the audacity, because I had so much experience in the company that they wanted my opinion. I quit and I started my own business. That's a great response too. Make sure. Okay, yeah. The next one is coming from Apricot Ave. She says, I would tell them I'd be happy to come in during my scheduled hours. Amen. Boundaries. Okay, we love to see it. We love to hear it. And I gotta give some kudos to that response because boundaries is a big one. And a lot of times people don't know how to approach those kind of conversations in business or in corporate, but you have to learn how to make it clear that what you're not doing and make it clear professionally. We're gonna keep this nice and professional. But yes, during my scheduled hours, we're not doing non-scheduled work because non-scheduled work equals free work. All right, let's look at what they're saying on Instagram. Let me see. Oh, nope. All comments moved to Facebook. So we're going to go to Facebook instead. Hold on. Let me turn my volume down. So on Facebook, oh, no, I'm sorry. We did have comments on Instagram, but it was in the chat. Okay, let me go back. It was in our directory member chat. This response came from Devon. He said, I will stay home. He said, I will stay at home enjoying my day or days off, plural, understood. And then let's go back to Facebook. Hold on. So on Facebook, we got quite a few responses. The first one is Shonda. She said, it depends on how well they've treated me in other areas. But if they have a history of taking from me without compensation, I'll have to say thanks, but no thanks. Hey, welcome to the live. The next person is Sanquez. She said, I'm not coming in. My brain costs money. Hello, how are you doing today? Feel free to answer the question in the comments. So today's question is, what would you do if your job called you to work in for free? They said they want you to come in and work and offer your expertise, but they are not willing or able to pay you, so you would have to come in and work for free. What would you say and what would you do in that action? Let me know. All right, the next person is Lacole. She said, I'm not going. Just as simple as that. I'm not going. I said, I knew you wasn't going. She said, they're free to find someone else, though. I said, thank you for letting us know. Got to put that part in there. Stephanie, she said, or AKA Steph, she said, me speaking no English. And I said, well, what if they say that's okay, we're bilingual, and they ask you in Spanish? She said no. And then she said, no, seriously, I would tell them the only way I would come in is when I'm on the clock. I'll be glad to help as long as I'm clocked in. Then I'm taking my notes because they're going to get better off my knowledge. Then Lady D's Treat said, my time isn't free. She said, get somebody else to do it. She said, and then I told her, I said, she said, find some volunteers. Then MJ, Miriam said, I play stupid enough just for this not to happen. But if they called me, I'm guessing I was off anyways. So no, I'll see you when I'm getting paid. Charlie said, I'm not going for free. Um, and when I do have to go, I'm not spilling the tea. Okay, so I just asked this question because I genuinely wanted to hear what people thought about the idea of working for free. If your job called you and they say, hey, I want you to work for free, how are you going to respond to that? And the reason why I wanted to have that dialogue is for two reasons. The first one is because as entrepreneurs, as a dreamer, as someone who's a doer, you're going to have moments where you have to be your biggest advocate the same way you would if you were speaking to a corporation. I think for some reason we lose that voice when we're dealing with people that we love, that we care about, or people that are right in front of us. But the same way you would tell someone at a 9 to 5, I'd love to come in when I'm clocked in, when I'm getting paid for my time, is the same way you would need to tell someone else, whether it's a fellow entrepreneur, whoever. I'd love to come in, I'd love to work and do this when I'm able to start working with you or working for you. And even if you're doing a collaboration, you don't have to, everything doesn't have to be paid, right? So it can be a collaboration. But in the process of it being a collaboration, we want to make sure that it is still fruitful and beneficial for your business because you value your time and you value yourself. So I just want to remind people that. And I also want to remind the entrepreneurs who maybe don't understand why another entrepreneur would want to be paid for their time, how they would feel if somebody asked them to come and work for them for free. And also, just to add another sentiment to it, we do not get to dictate what someone else values their time at. We can choose whether or not we want to pay for that time or whether or not we want to invest in them through a collaboration or whatever, but we do not get to choose what their going rates are. That's not our choice. So when a person says, I get paid for my time, or I get paid for my consultations, or I do my work when I'm scheduled, that is their value. That is their time. That is their system. And we don't get to dictate that. We don't get to control it. And honestly, even if we don't agree with it, I still would empower and support someone doing things that make sense for them. Sometimes I may not personally do or agree with something that another entrepreneur is doing, but if that's their system and it works for them and it's not hurting me directly, like they're not coming to me and physically harming me, then I don't see why I would be worried about that. It doesn't affect me in any light. In any, if it's too expensive, it still doesn't affect me because I would either make the choice of saving up and purchasing it, or I would make the choice of going and buying somewhere else. But it still does not affect me. It will not affect me. So I wanted that message to be for entrepreneurs that needed to hear that message, to trust themselves, to have confidence in themselves and their expertise the same way you would if you were working a 9 to 5. But also for other people who maybe don't understand, think about if you were to be called into your work and they said, hey, we just want to pick your brain, but we don't want to pay you for it. We just want your time. I don't think your response would be, okay, I'm on my way, I'll be there. And then you'd be sitting up there and doing it for free nonstop. I feel like you might have some pushback on that. Or you might ask, well, is there anything you guys can do for me? Or can you work with me? Or, what can we do to meet in the middle? But I haven't seen anyone excited about going somewhere and not getting compensated in a monetary way, or in a way of like a collaboration, or in a way of knowledge, benefits, perks, free merch, something. I've never seen someone go into a workplace or go into a collab or anywhere happy to do the work, knowing that they are not getting compensated in any kind of way and they are just going to be working to the bone for someone who has the capability to pay them or to do something to replenish them and just chooses not to. I've never seen that happen. Now, it's not to say that it hasn't happened, but I've never seen it happen. So I just wanted to start that dialogue for anyone that needed to hear it out there. Keep going, keep pushing, and do not assume that because you run into somebody who maybe doesn't see the value and doesn't want to spend, that that means that everyone's like that. Because you have an audience of people out here who want to support you, spend money on you, patronize you like no other. They just haven't found you yet. But if you get discouraged and you allow these negative experiences with some people to make you feel like you can't find that audience, then you'll never find them. But if you stay positive and you stay focused on providing a solution like what you came to do, you will find that audience. And so that's why it's important to know your worth, stand by your worth, and make sure that every room that you walk into is beneficial to you, your business, your mental health, your mindset, all of that. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. I hope you enjoyed this live. I'll see you again soon, either at the Boss Babe Business Show or at my next live. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.